Good afternoon. Tomorrow in the House of Assembly, we will be discussing the economy of Bermuda. We'll be discussing the challenges that we face. We'll be discussing to some extent how we got to where we are, and we'll also be putting forward solutions on how we grow our economy and get this island back on track. There has been an idea put forward by the government that all of the ills of Bermuda are related to the global recession and that they've been the fault of the global recession. This is not true.
Yeah, asked me about inflation and
So the rate of inflation since the start of last year, January 2007, started at 2.8%, and it's almost doubled to 4.8% in November. You know, how far is it going to go until the government starts to step in and say, let's put the brakes on?
you know, it's hard for a government like Bermuda to actually put the brakes on, because how are they going to do that? When you look at what the biggest factor in that inflation number is rent, or one of the largest factors. And the government can't all of a sudden say to all of these people who own homes, well, we're putting rent control across the board on everything. There will be no inflation on rent. Likewise, when you're a net importer, and Bermuda's a net importer by almost 86%, I think it is, meaning we import much more than we actually export. With that being the case, you really can't set your own prices. So the cost of milk, let's say, we have to pay, not only do we have to pay for the actual cows, but the food that is brought in to feed these cows is going to be a lot higher, because everything down the line has gotten a lot more expensive worldwide. So the inflation problem is not a Bermuda-based problem, it's a global problem. This is what tends to, when you have inflation, this is where central banks tend to say, okay, we have to raise rates to try to curb inflation. And usually when rates are coming down, could cause inflation to go up. So Bermuda is a byproduct of U.S. rates coming down. It's going to drive Bermuda's inflation up even further. Add that to look at oil prices at roughly $90 a barrel. You look at gold over $900 an ounce. There's inflation as an issue globally, and Bermuda's just paying the price, being such a net importer.
How far do you think this is going to go? I mean, how high could inflation go in Bermuda?
Well, the good thing for Bermuda is that you have GDP and gross incomes growing by a pace higher than inflation. So you really have your balance of numbers is still on the good side of things. But the problem is, if GDP slows and you still have inflation like that, that's where Bermuda's really going to have a problem. There's no forecast out there saying this is going to happen, so I'm not saying there's going to be a problem, but it's just something that everyone needs to be aware of. Inflation is high, but we're still growing at a torrid rate, so right now we're still okay.
John, thanks so much.